Hey guys, welcome back to the table. This is Finding Atoria, a TTRPG podcast with friends who have been gaming for far too long, who want to talk about all things TTRPG together.
This is version 846 of the intro.
Exactly.
Mark it. By season 5, I swear, we're going to have one intro.
One,
just one intro.
Yep, I know. So, as you can hear, it is myself, Arcadia, and my co-host, Malcolm, at the table today.
Left alone without supervision.
Oh, this could be dangerous. We are excited to bring to you our final VTM clan episode.
VTM Beginner's Guide to Clans. Final episode, isn't it? We're closing the chapter. We're going to replace it with something definitely because this has been quasi-popular in our
so don't worry if you've been grabbing our VTM episodes. We will continue to have VTM episodes, but we did promise you a full clan guide, and this is our last chapter.
I hope we haven't missed any. They'll tell us if we missed any.
I know.
So what are we doing on the last one?
So we are going to talk about the Caitiff and the Thin Bloods, and many may think those don't count as clans.
Those aren't clans.
But they are player characters. So we want to make sure that people who are interested in what options they have when they play know everything that they need to know. You
know what I am excited about this episode for, especially for beginner players, is that I picked this game up at version 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we begin.
Well, version 1.
The first, yeah.
Yeah.
And ever since they've been introduced, ever since they've come around, I've stayed away from both of these.
I know.
I'm a purist, and I've found out some reasons why that's going to be changing. So I'm excited about this.
It's what happens every time we do one of these episodes.
For the first time in the VTM Beginner's Guide to Clans series, we're actually going to roll VTM dice.
Yes.
And resolve our pools to see who is hungry enough to go first.
We haven't been rolling for initiative or for who goes first for far too long.
Well, if you remember, it downgraded into pissy sound effects
I
that
know.
Almost we've really been mailing it in. Yeah.
All right. So we have a VTM dice pool with official VTM dice, and we're going to roll off. I'm rolling first.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was a crap roll. That was about as good as Tori's rolls from our Leviathan game.
Dice rolls so bad you bring them up in a second episode.
So that is equivalent to a total of 3 failures.
Okay, so whatever you were trying to do didn't go well.
No.
I feel like I got this one in the bag. Oh, we don't even need to add it up.
Suck.
We don't even need to add it up. That is success and hunger and yes. Okay, so I'm going to go first today. I kind of wanted to jump off, and I'm very excited to hear about your clan, your group. But I'm going to take a shot at a VTM Beginner's Guide to the Thin Bloods. And I had to go to school on this. I know them. I use them in-game. They are always NPC. They are always, I don't know, right above a ghoul?
Right? Yeah, you sort of treat them like...
It's terrible.
Yeah, a minion.
So a Thin Blood is going to be a new generation vampire, a very high generation vampire. And the reason that we have them is, well, up for debate. But first of all, they are the last childer of Cain in a lot of people's opinions. I'm going to get to that later.
Oh, yeah. I want to dig into that.
But some say that they are just the latest expression of the curse. And some believe that the Thin Bloods are proof that something's changed.
I was just going to say an evolution.
An evolution, or... Is the curse dying out?
Interesting.
Is this the end of the kindred? And first of all, we have to let you know that these are based on a theory that any time that there's a new generation, this holds up in game mechanics and lore, that the newer generation is inherently weaker and with less power because blood is diluted.
Unless they diablerize.
And see, now would they get to that? And that's a possibility. But elders are terrified of them. There are hunts for thin bloods because they're not weak vampires. They have an adaptability that makes them absolutely unparalleled in the world for being able to digest food. Some can be in the sun.
They're daywalkers. They
can be daywalkers. Some of them will burn up just like any other vampire. Some are a little resistant. Some are tempered to it.
Can I ask, are those things that, like, as if you choose to be a thin blood, that, you know, as the player, you get to sort of choose some of those things?
And that's another thing, is that they're within their clan usually, but at thin blood status, you are doing a different skill and attribute tree than a clan vampire. So there are options in there. And I believe that you know, your sunlight resistance may be determined by a few things. I don't know that you get to just outright choose that.
Okay.
But there's other things that really make them dangerous. And that is that they have these memories. A vampire is an alien to human life at some point. You're a 600-year-old Ventru. You've forgotten the taste of a peach. You don't know what, you know, the joy of a warm embrace is anymore. Thin bloods remember birthday parties. Thin bloods remember relatives. Thin bloods still have less of the curse in them, which allows for more human memory and mental mechanic to still work.
So I was going to ask, yeah. So like, if you, like, I get it when you're talking about like a 600-year-old Ventru or something like that. But if you're talking about a newly turned younger generation Ventru versus a newly turned thin blood, is it still like that?
It is not as much like that for the newly turned clan vampire. That is a pure blood. That is a pure transference of curse. Even at that higher generation, they are not considered a thin blood. They're a true and pure vampire.
But I'm talking about like that idea of like a better access to human memories and things like that. Like, is it just age, or is it that the vampire curse is less?
I think that it's a bit of both, and then it also depends on how that storyteller is going to run that and how the player character wants to play that, because usually you're only going to have those things that you can hold on to in a meaningful way emotionally for a short time after turning is what I understand.
Right.
Now, I think that there are arcs that you can play where things pop up and harken back and prey at the psyche that is still in there and is human. But the distinction with the thin blood is that the curse is so reduced. They're still vampiric in a lot of ways, but they do not hold those same tenets to an afterlife severing from their human life.
There's still some humanity in them.
There's more humanity there because there's less vampiric cursed blood there. Now, a lot of people believe that they do this thin blood wizardry magic, and it's more of an alchemy. If you take the Tremere, they are blood alchemists, and they are blood magicians.
Okay.
Thin bloods are almost like mad scientists with it. So they are combining the power of vitae with street drugs. They're out there experimenting with what can be done with blood.
And is this as a result that their like powers are weaker, and so they're finding other alternatives?
That you have less access to those skills and attributes of the kindred because your blood is thinner. It's this trade-off where you have the ability to still work in those mortal machinations and add to your, because maybe you can be outside during the day a little bit. You know, maybe food is a different transference of power for you. But they get out there and they play almost like some I don't know, punks, like Anarch is just punk rock in the Vampire Society. So they're mixing chemistry and folk magic, occult recipes, and vampire blood. They're more like underground scientists than they are, you know, the ancient sorcerers.
Oh, very cool. Do they still connect to their clan? Are they accepted by their clan?
No. So here's the thing on this. If you're a thin blood, and it kind of goes a little bit like this, if for the political machinations, the Camarilla probably going to hunt them. They're just too volatile. They're too much different than
too human
than the establishment, and they are the masquerade risk. They do not have to work under the same confines, and that also means they're a risk to power.
They also don't have the compulsion to be like a part of the clan. Like there's this thing with when your clan manifests itself that like your personality changes to some degree.
And they don't,
and that doesn't pull on them as much.
They're not devoid on it, but they're not devoid of it, but you're right. It doesn't pull on them as much. So if you're the Camarilla, you're barely kindred to us. And if you can prove yourself useful, like a ghoul, like a mortal, like something else, in no way are they going to have a seat at the table. In no way are Thin Bloods going to be at court. More than that, they're hunted for their blood too.
Why?
That dude walks in daylight.
Oh, does that transfer? Okay.
Right. So it's one of those things where...
Sorry, that was a no.
Not to my knowledge, let me say that. So on the black market, thin blood is valuable, not because it's powerful, but because it's different. Why can you eat a sandwich and enjoy a damn sandwich? And why do you go to the bathroom? Like, you're digesting food, and you're still supposedly...
Can they survive on food?
No.
Okay. They still need vitae.
So here's the hunger paradox. Their hunger often feels more human. They remember the senses, the smell of rain, the taste of the birthday cake. So their hunger usually comes from one of those drives and is manifested in the vampire sort of thing. But yeah, they'll sit down for a sandwich because those memories are still too close to turn away from, but they're so far away that they can't, they're not tangible. Of course, they're not going to be nourished by the birthday cake. Can they become true vampires was your question earlier?
Well, like through diablerie.
Theoretically, that would be exactly how they would do it, although they would have to do it to a sufficiently more powerful kindred, because you're not just level 13 munching a level 9 dude. You're a thin blood trying to get any pure vampiric holding. You're trying to get the rest of that curse in.
Yeah. Okay. Why would I want to play a thin blood?
Excellent question. The irony is because everyone thinks you're weak, you're not automatically, because they underestimate you. But you're more adaptable. You're harder to detect by other vampires. That's a huge one. They're less predictable because they are not party to anything. Now, Anarchs will invite you in, but that's based on loyalty, and the Sabbat just think that you are a sign of the apocalypse because in the Book of Nod, which Chase I think still has, this is what all the elders fear, because this is when the ancients come back. And it's also the idea that if they don't, what's after the thin bloods? Really thin bloods?
Right.
Is the curse running out? What happens if being a vampire just stops?
Can thin bloods make kindred?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. But I'll have to look at that as well. Another reason why you want to play them, they're more adaptable in modern world settings.
Oh, sure.
You got a day job, buddy. Okay, I got a day job, buddy. Yeah. Now I have access to all sorts of things, resources.
I'm actually surprised they're not leveraged more, like by the very politically scheming clans to, put your in into, I know they do all, like, you always have your ins somewhere, into the police, into the government, into the, whatever. But like, wouldn't it be useful to have that daywalker in those positions?
It's a good question, and it makes, the next idea of what they actually mean even more important, because if they're going to be a staple, if this is going to be the future of vampires, that all of the pure blood is now gone and everything is from here on out less and thinner and not effective, that changes your entire power dynamic. You're no longer recruiting from a growing pool. Now, if you're established, you could be 12th generation and outlast some people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just changes the potential outcomes. Is there something new emerging in the blood? What other factors are there in this thin blood? Because it could just be that there's too many generations and now there's not enough.
Too diluted.
But there could be other things. And a lot of the Sabbat believe that it is that sign of the apocalypse. And the Book of Nod tells that they foresaw this, the coming of the thin bloods.
Okay.
And so for those devout and those, fervent, this is a sign that it's all coming. The ancients are going to wake up, and then, of course, if you follow the lore, that does happen. But, depending on where you're at in here, for beginners, it's a great place to get into playing the game if you don't want to play a vampire. for the vampire.
It's a little bit vampire.
It's a little vamp light, and you get to do a little bit of day running, and instead of just shadow running.
Yeah, I think it would make a really unique addition to a coterie to have a thin blood, which I'm right there with you. I'd previously sort of, been like, why would you want to do this? But I keep in my brain going to D&D and thinking about like when I make characters, not all the time. I choose different races for different character makes, but quite frequently I choose human, and humans are weaker in some ways, they don't live as long, they don't do whatever, but you get extra bonuses. You get all those extra racial bonuses for being human, more than you do for some of the other species. And so, if you want that versatility, if you want to be able to do a little bit more on your skills, I can see the benefit of that.
And you can get into scenarios inside of your game where just the presence of thin bloods or a growing population of thin bloods can spark off, the fears of apocalypse. It can spark off, political imbalance. And it's a facet of the game where I didn't make them throwaway characters, but I never considered them for a PC until learning that they are that game balance function, where you've got a little bit of the best of both worlds and a little bit of the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a big thing about that severing of the sire and childer relationship, where now they're kind of free agent. It's just not they're unknown knowns at this point.
So I guess I'm going to ask this as a lead into our second segment, and we can take a break maybe before we dive too deep into it. But you talk about that severing of the sire relationship and not really being accepted by the clans. And, our next group that we're going to talk about, the Caitiff, are clanless. And so I'd be intrigued to look at like how much, do thin bloods become Caitiff ever? Do they keep themselves entirely separate?
Yeah, so I believe I can answer that, and that is that to be Caitiff, you have to be a pure blood vampire.
Okay.
That is a vampire, a true generation vampire without a clan, whereas thin bloods are in a lot of circles lesser than,
right?
Looked at as a different subspecies, or like you used the word evolution earlier, of the species.
Sure. What I find interesting about it is one of the things, and we'll get into this more in the next segment after the break, but is that sometimes being Caitiff is a political or a social designation more than a physical biological attribute.
Right.
And so that's where I was sort of wondering if there was
I just don't think that your thin bloods even reach that level of consideration.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? All right. Well, that was what I had on the thin bloods. Why don't we do a quick break here on Finding Atoria, and when we come back, everything Caitiff from Arcadia. We'll be right back after the break.
This is your first day, and the world's already ending. Welcome to Leviathan Rising, the new tabletop RPG from Dr. Christina Stiso and Oddfish Games. You're a rookie agent in a shadowy global agency tasked with investigating the impossible, mad science, alien incursions, and creatures straight out of Godzilla, Them, and the Core. 3 case files, 1 choice, and consequences that spiral into chaos. This narrative-forward, rules-medium RPG throws ordinary people into extraordinary disasters, where survival isn't guaranteed and victory is never clean. Leviathan Rising. Welcome to Leviathan. What could possibly go wrong? Don't miss your opportunity to play this exciting new game at Gen Con. Look for Welcome to Leviathan in your Gen Con events registry and sign up to play this brand new role-playing game before it's too late.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. The Finding Atoria podcast is looking for guests for our upcoming episodes. Are you or someone you know passionate about the TTRPG community and have a story to share? If so, contact us on our socials or reach out at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. And now back to your program.
Hey guys, welcome back from the break. This is Finding Atoria, and we are doing our final VTM clan guide episode, our beginner's guide to VTM clans. And we've been talking about the Thin Bloods in our first segment, and now we're going to talk about the Caitiff a little bit.
I like this. I'm ready for this.
You're ready for this? Uh-oh, he's going to grill me. Okay, but before I jump into the VTM clan lore information stuff, I just had to share a fun little tidbit that I discovered.
Okay, tidbits. I like them.
Have you ever heard the word Caitiff?
I have, and I cannot tell you where.
So I was curious. I looked it up. It is like a 14th century word. It was used in Shakespeare. We don't use it much modernly.
It is shunned?
To a person who is despicable or wretched is Caitiff.
Okay, I like that even more now.
Right?
That's fantastic.
What I guess I'm just thinking about how old are vampires?
Right.
So this word has been applied to
picked up in
this
humans
type of group, and basically to mean, everyone else all the other kindred are basically saying you're despicable, you're wretched.
Wow. That's a statement and a half. So
right?
For the beginners wanting to play these, tell us more about the Caitiff.
Well, I am going to argue back that if I was playing Caitiff, I would say, fuck you. I am not despicable or wretched. I'm better than any of you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, tell us why, because it's tough to get to preferable from wretched. So
I know. I always end up here when I do a clan. I'm like, oh, this would be so fun. So Caitiff, you talked about Thin Bloods being versatile. To me, Caitiff, other than the daywalking concept possibly, and maybe not as much hunger, Caitiff are that same type of go-between. They have the full vampiric power. I mean, they can be any generation.
Full blood.
They are full-blooded kindred. But they do not have the curses, the banes, and all of that come with a clan.
So they are clanless.
They are clanless. And so for the beginner, if you are looking at a Caitiff vampire, what happens here is that you do not have a clan. That can happen for a number of reasons. It could be that you were made and your sire didn't stick around, and so you're sort of like a lost child. You just don't know who your sire was. Nobody teaches you about your clan.
You can't hone those initial instincts
right.
that lead you to your clan power.
Right. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that your sire does stick around and the clan, I don't know, there's so many different aspects. We'll call them aspects. The clan aspects just don't show up. They don't manifest.
Okay, so it could just be a bad transfer of those aspects, those things that would make you...
Right. So this can be from your character traits, like the Ventru are, the people in charge, they're leaders, they're, whatever. Or the Bruja have the... the ferocity that runs through them, that rebellion.
So you're saying maybe picking the wrong human to turn.
They don't know why it happens.
Okay.
It's not necessarily, I'll flat out say, they don't know. It could be something went wrong in the siring process. It could be...
I assume that a Caitiff could make another Caitiff?
They're full-blooded kindred.
Right. So you could go and turn and in essence grow the clanless.
Right.
That way. Okay.
So and what I love about them is that when you are a specific clan, it just narrows your possibilities. You have certain powers you can use. You have certain personality traits that you need to at least moderately follow. And
disciplines that you are going to gain adeptness in.
Correct.
That are specific to the clan from which you were turned.
Correct. And I will say that is one of the downsides. So I'm going to just sort of say the benefit is that you can choose, from, any of the why am I blanking on the name? I'm saying powers, but disciplines. There we go. You can choose from any of the disciplines to pick 3 that you are going to be like your inherent disciplines.
You literally have self-determination as Caitiff.
Yes. Where the drawback is that if you are of a clan, if you have those disciplines that are your clans, and you grow those as you level up and get more experience and everything like that, for clan disciplines, you gain experience and ability in those quicker than non-clan disciplines.
Yep.
The Caitiff don't get that benefit.
Okay.
Every discipline they use levels up at the same way.
They don't get the expedition of those clans. So that almost goes back to your previous point before the break. If we're D&D shading this, there's your human right there.
Right, yeah.
Is that they're not going to be exceptionally fast at learning anything, but they'll be adept at a slower pace at many things.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And honestly, like for me, that's about the only downside to it other than social aspects.
I was going to say politically, this just perks my ears up. If I'm Camarilla and you don't have a clan, I don't necessarily know how you move, how you're aligned, what your aspects are. You're now a liability. So how do they interact with those various groups, the Anarchs, the Sabbat, the Camarilla?
Yeah. So the interesting part is that they don't have a bane in the same way the other clans do, that a lot of times, manifests itself through their discipline or through some sort of vampiric power. Their bane is really a social aspect. It is that, I think it's called the outcast bane.
Right.
And so what that does really depends on how the player character plays, how the storyteller GM leads the game, and the setting that they're putting it in. But it can manifest in a couple of different ways. I mean, it can just simply be that it's really challenging to move within the world because nobody trusts you. You don't have any of the support network of a clan, those connections that come within the clan. And you don't have a sire who's helping you move forward.
You don't have a sponsor. You don't have access to the things that would be provided if you were inside of a formalized clan structure sometimes.
Right. So I could see if I was GMing, it would be something like, you're going to have a negative on, persuasion, charisma type, interactions in the world. If you're interacting with someone who is of a clan,
right?
There's going to be some negatives to that interaction that you have to overcome. So you have to do it better. You have to roll better. You have to act it out better.
Right.
Whatever it might be. You have to bribe more.
So if I'm a kindred, can I sense you as clanless?
I know.
Or do I need to suss that out? Could I go through my life lying and being clanless and saying, "Oh no, Bruja, I'm a gangrel from a city you've never been to"? You know what I mean? Is it something that they can hide? Because usually that outcast label, that shun label, is almost a badge that is shown whether you want it to or not to those that are in the know.
Right. So just like you talk about the thin bloods, being a liability and things like that, it's a similar problem for the Caitiff. They're not trusted. They're not on the inside. So hunted, killed, all of that is acceptable. There's nobody protecting or supporting them. But yes, they can hide. And that is one of the best survival strategies for them within the world of darkness. And the one aspect of the Caitiff that I just really, really enjoyed is that even though you can make this statement that, they have no clan, they have no support, all of this.
Sure.
Their real benefit in that regard is found family. that's the coterie, the other Caitiff, the, maybe it's Anarch, whatever it might be. Those groups of people that are outside the typical structure.
Right. The other fringe members, and I'm thinking of, I don't know why my mind went back to ways to make a clanless vampire, but what if you're a vampire whose clan's now defunct and you turn somebody?
Right, yes.
If you became clanless, used to be, or one of the last members, or not even a recognized clan, you're of a defunct lineage.
And there are a couple of those that we didn't touch on in our guide, but since you can't play them, we didn't go into them. Anyway.
It's a comprehensive list. No, but there's so many subsects and different things that we didn't go into, but my brain goes to that. And then I don't want to steal thunder on the topic, but I almost liken it to if you're a prisoner going into a prison and you're not part of a gang. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't have beef with these guys. But you don't have protection. You don't have mentor. So those people that are on the fringes are going to form together.
Yes. And what I like about it as a playing opportunity is it really hits on that sweet spot of you get to build out your character and their world and their connections and all of that instead of inheriting it, instead of, I have to play within the clan guidelines, like I know you might not be sitting at a table with all of the, Brujah clan if you're playing a Brujah, but the GM knows your clan,
right.
Utilizes that requirement of being a part of the clan as hooks. It can pull you, it can guide you, it can put you on a mission you didn't want to go on, and all this. Whereas with the Caitiff, like you get to really just build that up and you get to ascertain your value and your strength and all of that based on how you want to build that vampire, not based on the clan.
And one of the things, I'm going to bounce it back to D&D again, but like if you build a character and you're part of the Harper faction,
right,
out of the gate, you've got a role-playing hook into that person that if they're out there doing some non-Harper-y shit on the side, that that's going to be able to be pulled in, and it gives, on the other side from the storyteller, immense opportunity, the obvious low-hanging fruit of, okay, you're going to join a coterie. Really?
Right.
And so it sounds challenging, but I think that the opportunity to learn how to play the game if you're a beginner. Now, a lot of us are going to pick clans that we like because of the aspects of those clans, so the writing's on the wall there. But if I'm just learning how to play vampire and play a vampire, it's a really good road test, I think, to learn through that non-obligatory clan standard sort of game, first of all.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that, like, this whole hiding idea, like, I like the fact that you could almost take on this character that is a hide in plain sight type of character. Like, if you're good enough, you come into town and you're a Brujah, or you go to a different town and you're a Ventru and
It almost turns it into that shadow run of burning identities as you go through.
Right, yeah.
No, very, very, once again, overlooked, because you sit there and you go, well, that's not, it wasn't a playable clan. It's not an original clan. It's not break-off clans. It is. It's a group, so much so that the Sabbat recognized clanless vampires by one of their very famous people, somebody Ponder, and gave them the title of the Ponders, which gives them... at least for that group, like the Camarilla is like, you can call them whatever you want to. We're hunting them next week, but it gives them some sort of social standing as a recognized group, even though they're not a clan.
I agree, and it also a little bit of an overlap with the Thin Bloods is that different. Caitiff have been around since the beginning. Some will actually even argue that the Children of Cain would be considered Caitiff.
Because the clans were...
Because the clans didn't exist.
Until then. That's interesting.
Now, others will just be like, no, you can't have clanless if there just weren't clans.
Technicality, plus it doesn't really hold up to the shunned, exiled, horrible...
Right.
Yeah.
But the only reason they're shunned and exiled is simply because the clan aspects don't manifest,
Right.
And so they're still full vampires. They're still powerful vampires. So that's one thing. But then since World War II, there's been more and more.
Oh.
And so this idea that you bring up with the Thin Bloods about like people are looking at it like, what's changing in the world? Why, is
thousands and thousands of years, and in the last 70.
Right. So it's just
80.
another one of those things that they look at and say, what's happening? What's happening to the curse? What's happening? Are these children of Cain? Are they not? Are they?
Why wouldn't their powers
why is
manifest?
it more?
Yeah.
Why is it coming more often now? What's wrong? Is the embrace losing something?
Right.
Is the blood diluting? So you put together the combination of a growing Caitiff population and a growing Thin Blood population. I'm just thinking you could have a really fun run with the Sabbat and
the end
all
times
of that.
paradox
Yeah.
and Gehenna, and it's depth to the game that you don't get without those. You don't have those stakes coming from the political machinations of the La Sombre, family. You don't have that sort of once again those stakes, those portents that come out of ruling Toronto, but it has typically been two groups of vampires that my brain just classified as add-on NPC type or fodder type. Looking at them as almost sub-minions for like real, and that's not it at all. So I would encourage the beginner. I'll take any more that you've got on the Caitiff, but I would definitely take the time to encourage the beginner to not overlook these as just fantastic and unique role-playing opportunities in the world of darkness.
Yeah, I will admit, I sort of wish that I knew and understood a little bit more about the Caitiff on my last character creation.
Right.
Because I would love to explore the versatility that is offered by that.
Because, and I think you get a lot from the Banu Hakim, is that the build that you were talking about? Mm-hmm. You get a lot of versatility in their paths and things like that, but they are still, no matter what road you are on, you've got to stay the road there.
And you know me, I tend to not like being pigeonholed into one. I'm always either like a ranger where you can fight and do magic, or a fighter mage, or
or an octagon of multi-classes.
Yeah, I tend to like to multi-class. Or like my elemental monk who can do all sorts of magic because of the race I made them. And yeah, I like to be able to fight. I like to be able to do magic. I like to be versatile. I like to be... So the Caitiff appeals to me from the idea that you can dip your finger in a lot of different pools.
You can there, and I can't wait to see your sorcerer with a shotgun build for our next round.
Yes.
The ideas have been planted. We were left
Nuns
alone.
with guns. I mean,
you were already warned at the beginning of the episode. I'm not moderating.
I know, and hey, we stayed on track. Actually, I will say. Not bad. We didn't get off into the,
good content. Way to wrap up this series, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really hope people will take a moment and explore these two, because I think they're too often overlooked as playing possibilities. And I really think you could have a fun table with a coterie with Caitiff and Thin Bloods in there.
Definitely. I think that you just get opportunity for, my storyteller hooks are just falling from the ceiling. And definitely stay tuned, because we haven't decided on it yet. There's a few topics in consideration, but we're going to bring another World of Darkness VTM series to you. And I don't know if it'll be geared beginners. I know that we're probably not going to focus on clans and those dynamics at this point in time. But we will continue the alternate logo episodes. And
you guys have really enjoyed our VTM content, and so we want to keep giving it to you. Please interact with us, talk to us, get on our socials and leave us messages. We will respond. We love to hear from you. Tell us about your VTM characters, why you chose what you chose, and how it's going for you at your table. We are so appreciative that you guys are listening, and we hope that you will continue to do so. We'll be back next week. Please, in the meantime, you can find us at Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. You can visit us at www.wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria, and you can choose to support us by clicking that lovely little Patreon button. We would love to have you come in and support us, and you can get some behind-the-scenes shenanigans that we have recorded.
That was the cleanest outro ever. I'm snipping that. That's it. We never have to do an outro again. That was beautiful.
So we love you guys. We will talk to you next time.
This will be the last episode that comes out before Gen Con 2026. Come see Arcadia and Malcolm from the Finding Atoria podcast, happily working Oddfish Games booth number 720 on Friday and Saturday.
Hope to see you there. Bye.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. Find us at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria if you or anyone you know has stories or other good things to say about TTRPGs. Get a hold of us. You can find us on all the social medias.
This episode of Finding Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. Are you interested in sharing stories of your favorite TTRPG experiences? If so, reach out at www.wordleafmedia.com/contact us on our socials, or you can now leave a comment on your favorite Finding Atoria episode at our Wordleaf Media YouTube channel.